Hockey Town, it's a place where dreams are found. We fought so many battles here. Now we're the ones that they will fear. The cup resides within our town. We won't stop no letting down. The cup is ours for all to drink. It's our time, let's rock this ring.
Yo, what is up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of Hockey Town Rundown. You are here with us, your beautiful hosts, once again, Carlo and Zach. Carlo, we're back. We're late, but that's okay.
Yeah.
Life happens, man. It is what it is. I'm coming back from a trip in Pennsylvania to a wedding. Congratulations to Max and Alina on that. That was a well put together wedding.
Nice.
Just kind of throwing it out there. They unfortunately were hit in that horrible hurricane situation with Helene in Asheville, North Carolina. And, 2 weeks before the wedding, they had to try and figure everything out. And so honestly, Carlo, you couldn't have been able to tell that it was put together in 2 weeks. It was an amazing time. I drove all the way there. That was fantastic. I enjoyed every second of it. The roads were super windy, completely different from Michigan, Ohio, all these places in the Midwest. It was just overall a fantastic time. So definitely appreciate the hospitality that they showed and the love and everyone being there for them, for their ceremony, their wedding, and then obviously them having that issue with the hurricane. So glad to see it all worked out very well in their favor nonetheless. So enough about me and my weekend spent. Carlo, how was your weekend, my dude?
It was good, man. Hopefully cut the grass for the last time, although that's very doubtful. It was good though. It was good. It went by very quickly. But it was nice. It was nice. Got to watch some Lions, got to watch some football, got to watch a little bit of Red Wings. They had a couple days off there, but nonetheless, it was pretty good, man. It was good, and it's Tuesday now. It's crazy. Days just fly by. It's just what it is.
When we enter this studio for our recording, I always put the date so I know what day we recorded on. And when I put down that it was the 22nd of October, I was like, holy hell. The time is just
crazy.
flying by.
It's
crazy. It
crazy.
feels like just yesterday that the season started. I mean, it's been 2 weeks. Hockey's been around, right? And today we're recording on Tuesday. It's a little later in the day, but there are 16 games on tonight, Carlo. All 32 teams are playing, so there's a lot of action going on. Those Lions, like you mentioned earlier, what a victory. I really didn't get to watch it, but I did get to watch the recaps. But yeah, that was fantastic and everything. So Detroit sports are killing it right now, slightly for the Red Wings, but we'll go into that. But before we do jump into everything, Carlo, why don't we stop and take a moment to say thank you to our viewers,
Absolutely,
our listeners, and fans alike for the Detroit Red Wings. So thank you for stopping by on this brand new episode. If you are returning once again, if you are brand new, thanks for stopping by in general. We really do appreciate it. Why don't you go ahead and take a moment. If you're watching us on YouTube, hit that subscribe button, hit the thumbs up button. Both of those are free. We definitely appreciate it. That helps us get out there and bring you guys more news and our takes on the Detroit Red Wings. And we love hearing from you guys. If you guys are on Apple or on Spotify, go ahead and hit that follow button, and then you can rate us the 5 stars. That truly does help us out as well. Those are also free to do, Carlo. I don't know if you knew that.
I didn't know that, but I really appreciate you letting me and everybody else know. And folks, although it's totally free to do this, it helps us more than you may know, just by getting out there and getting things spread across, and really giving us an opportunity to share our meathead opinions. So please help us out.
You're the meat, I'm the potato. I think that makes the most sense.
I'm in.
Yeah, you're more jacked than I am. I'm just the running guy with my 2 dogs. You got a kid, you got to muscle up, Dad. But other than that, Carlo, on being on these platforms like YouTube, Spotify, and Apple, we also are on Twitter, Facebook. I did point the correct way this time. And then we are on Instagram. It's over towards that way, more above Carlo. And by doing those things, we do giveaways all the time. We actually just announced the winner for our latest giveaway of this Henrik Zetterberg bobblehead. It is sealed brand new, and that is going out to Slarky. I'm so sorry if I'm pronouncing.
Doesn't matter. It's a great handle. Handle.
It is.
Congrats, pal. Congrats.
And they do NHL 23 and 24 content. So honestly, if you're ever looking for someone to play with, you just need an extra man, I'm your guy. Let me know. Love those games. I got NHL 25 and no one really to play with. I'm waiting for my buddy to upgrade his Xbox right now. They only got it for the X and S series, which is super strange, but not really. I don't know, man. But no, thanks for entering. Thanks to everyone for entering. We really do appreciate you guys supporting us and entering in these giveaways. We love giving you guys free stuff. So continue it up. You're also getting these beautiful hockey cards that I have right here. So congratulations once again on winning that giveaway. Without further ado, Carlo, we got all that out of the way, and let's go ahead and jump into it. We got some game notes. Obviously, we're going to cover the 2 Rangers games that the Red Wings did end up losing, and then the Red Wings versus the Nashville Predators game that they won Saturday. Yes, I did get to watch at least the first period of that before I had to go and do the wedding shenanigans I had to stand up in. But once again, congrats to Max and Alina if you guys are watching this. So, Carlo, let's just go ahead and jump into it. The Red Wings' first game against the Rangers, they lost 4-1. Alex Lyon was in that. Watson on the 4th line, and Berggren was bumped up on the 3rd line and replaced for Christian Fischer, who was injured. Same defense and all. They had Albert Johansson playing in there too, and then Eric Gustafsson was not on defense. Kane was presented with the A like you predicted, Carlo. They're just going to kind of rotate through all these players, and then we did see, I'm just going to say it now, in the game against the Nashville Predators that they gave it to Lucas Raymond, which is awesome to see. I'm a little surprised that we didn't get to see Moritz Seider with it before anyone else, but maybe we can talk about that down the line. But this game, Carlo, I mean, they lost 4-1. I think this was kind of a general case where Igor Shesterkin just came out and played on top of his head. I mean, I remember my dad calling me, he's like, they looked bad. And I was like, I agree with you, but Igor Shesterkin is a top 5 goaltender in the NHL, and he just completely drove this New York Rangers team against the Detroit Red Wings. There were definitely a couple issues with the Detroit Red Wings. I mean, it looks like here that you put down that they had no intensity. Someone like Marco Kasper could have brought that intensity if they had brought him up over Austin Watson, which I guess I would agree with because they ended up bringing him up anyways. But the team just couldn't get anything going with this, and everything. It just seemed like they were very unprepared once again to go up against a really good team, right? And so what were your main takeaways from this first New York Rangers game?
Well, I kind of went into that game not thinking Detroit was going to blow the doors off by any means. At the end of the day, it's the New York Rangers. I mean, they are kind of, I guess I'll say what I said last season, at the start of the season, I talked about the Florida Panthers being a very complete team. This season, the New York Rangers are as complete of a team as you can get. Yeah. Now, Detroit really didn't help themselves this game. They had 17 giveaways. Not great. Like underlying numbers, not great. Very few takeaways with 3. They didn't really do anything to help themselves within the first game against New York, in my opinion. But giving credit where credit's due, they did have 17 block shots. They did have 19 hits. I think, watching the game and the emotions kicking in and the frustration kicking in, I did put there was a big lack of intensity, not for 60 minutes. I do think they could have been a little bit more intense throughout those 60 minutes, but there was probably 50 to 60% of that game where they were very lethargic. Like Trot looked very, very slow. Guys just looked not like themselves. They're not like we've seen them play in the past. Now, it did come out that there's a flu going around, so you got to have some sympathy for there and remember that these guys are human beings. You know what I mean? Like, they're not robots. Not yet, at least. But I don't know. I think they could have done a little bit more to help themselves, and maybe if they didn't have that flu bug going around, maybe this would have been a little bit more of a competitive game. Maybe they could have brought it into OT. If they didn't have the flu and if Igor Shesterkin was an Igor Shesterkin, because like you said moments ago, I mean, that goalie is just a freak, and he's dialed in this year so far. So, I mean, obviously not a great game. Thought they would learn from their mistakes going into the second tout against the Rangers, but I'll let you take us into that, Zach.
Yeah, and just kind of recapping the lone goal scorer for the Detroit Red Wings was none other than your Detroit Red Wings captain, Dylan Larkin. So congratulations to him. And Justin Hall got an assist. But yeah, honestly,
Justin Hall made a great play. Got to shout that out. He made a
Yeah.
really nice play. Some poise, some patience. Wasn't expecting that from him. Shout out to Jay Hall. That was a really nice play.
And I do want to touch on Alex Lyon a little bit because he will be a talking point down the line here, is that I kind of feel for him. I get it. 24 saves out of the 27 shots against. One of the goals ended up being an empty netter. 0.889 save percentage. We know Alex Lyon can make some really great saves, and that's a testament to what happened in the Nashville Predators game that we'll go talk about. But this game, I feel like it's resemblance, and we've talked about this on previous episodes, that I'm getting flashbacks of last year. And that's kind of what I said, even with Alex Lyon in the Nashville Predators game, where he has to make these astounding saves to keep this team alive, much like how Igor Shesterkin did for New York Rangers. But yeah, let's go and talk about the next game against the New York Rangers. And yeah, that game 2-5 this game, I got to miss this game. Either way you can look at it, it's very fortunate for me, but I see it as an unfortunate circumstance.
That was definitely the more frustrating game out of the two. That's the one you wanted to miss for sure.
Yeah, Moritz Seider getting a goal, and then JT Comfort getting a goal towards the end of the game. Red Wings had 31 shots at 34. They were lacking on the faceoff percentage. Their power play was 1 out of 5. I mean, their power play, that's another talking point that we're going to talk about too, is with our main topics for today after this roundup. But the Red Wings aren't capitalizing on the opportunities that even the refs are giving to them. Now, you look at the power play one every single time, they look dangerous, but they're not shooting enough. And I think that's evident, and then you look at the PK is not doing as well as I think that they probably should. But like I said, Carlo, I really didn't get to see this game, so I'll kind of let you take it from here. I don't know what else to say about this game.
Again, 18 giveaways by the Wings. It really looked like a continuation of the first game against the Rangers. It was almost as if it was just a perfect continuation, as if 3 days didn't go by and Detroit just got more tired. That's kind of what that game was like, because it was a tough watch. But I'll start off with the 18 giveaways. Obviously, never great. But I don't know. Like you talked about the power play shooting the puck, and I agree with you. But Alex DeBrincat needs to hit the net. Yeah. There was a power play, wide open net. Like it could not get more wide open, and he just shot it through the crease. So,
that's what I heard through the grapevine.
He needs to lock it down. Like we started 5-1 last season. That was our start. And I'm talking about 6 games here, but in these 5 games, it's not a great start. And I think the biggest thing hindering us is the power play. So that power play is due to break out, but we'll get there. Yeah, I don't know. The wheels really did fall off after Panarin's hat trick. So they let Panarin score 3. And then shortly after, I think it was Mancini that scored. It was 5-on-5, and it was 60-ish seconds away from Panarin's 3rd goal. And then at that point, it was over. The game was over. That was their 5th and final goal. And then to your point, JT Comfort did get one as well, with a subtle head down skate to the bench right after the goal was scored, which I thought was appropriate.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Like the power play lacked creativity, which costed them. The good news, I think that game solidified who our starting goalie is, and that's Alex Lyon.
Yeah,
I don't want to. I don't want to beat up the team too much on this game, because obviously they had a good rebound game against Nashville. The only thing I want to touch on is Gustafsson with 2 high sticking penalties. Like, buddy, one's enough. Like, one's enough to take a second high sticking. Like, keep your stick on the ice, brother. Like, it was just, he did not look great. But I think we have our clear cut starting goaltender, and in hindsight, we should have never given it to anybody else, man. Like, look what he did I know last season, it's in the past, but Like if it wasn't for Alex Lyon, like last year, we would not be as close as we were to making the playoffs. I truly believe that. And then this year, I feel like the goalie situation just got completely confuffled, which is confuffled, which is I guess the word I'm using here. But regardless, Alex Lyon should be our starting goaltender. I think he is moving forward. Pretty sure he's getting the start tonight, which is his second start in a row. So that's the good news. That is the good news because he did play quite well in Nashville.
Yeah, thanks for bringing all of that up. Sorry for almost interrupting you. Yeah, it looks like Cam Talbot was the starting goaltender. I mean, 2 even strength goals against and then 3 on the power play. That goes back to the PK and technically not doing their job, I guess. But also, once again, I didn't get to see the game, so I don't know how many softies Talbot let in. But
yeah, I think he would have wanted him back. Like I think they were savable. The only one that I don't think was savable was Panarin's. I mean, I can't remember which goal. I think it was his first goal, but it was an absolute beauty of a goal, man.
Like, you're trying not to remember.
No. I vividly remember this goal, dude. It was nasty. It was top of the circle, and he just picked a corner so perfectly. I don't think he could have had that one.
Yeah.
Considering how far out Panarin shot from. It was just a perfectly placed shot.
Yeah. And I think someone like Alex Lyon, I thought he was going to be the number 2 goaltender, or at least like a 1A, 1B. I thought Cam Talbot would take the reins, and we'll kind of talk about that later too. But I think Alex Lyon for now definitely has solidified himself as the number 1 goaltender. I mean, that's a 1.0 save percentage right there, 15 out of 15. So good looks on him for doing that. And so, Carlo, let's go ahead and jump into the Wings versus the Predators game, where the Wings did win 5-2. Luke Schenn was honored for 1,000 games, and he gets a goal. I think that's honestly pretty awesome. I love the fact that I love it, but I hate it that the Red Wings always seem to do this to themselves, that whenever something happens that's not on their team, like if it's a celebration or whatever, I mean, other than Patrick Kane scoring, I believe it was an OT last year against his Chicago Blackhawks in Chicago, right? The Red Wings always seem to give up something to, whether if it's a rookie or someone who hits a career milestone. Or
it's his first NHL game, always.
Dude, it's crazy. But because of Alex Lyon pretty much posting a shutout for replacing Cam Talbot in the game against the Rangers, he did get the starting nod this season. And I did put in here that in this game, I believe, Carlo, that he bailed this team out and multiple times, and he made a save of the year. And I think he's a candidate for that because I can't remember who the shot was, but it was
Stamkos.
Stamkos. Okay, thank you. Stamkos basically had a wide open net. You got Alex Lyon basically just reaching over with his stick hand, and it just hits basically the knob of his stick and goes up into the netting.
The knob king.
Alex Lyon, you're a freak of nature. Don't change, please. And that was on a 5-on-3 PK too. And they ended up, getting rid of that 5-on-3 PK. They didn't allow them to score on them. So that was super sweet. Lucas Raymond with an A during this game. And then Marco Kasper was called up and played over 15 minutes playing on the third line with Berggren and Rass. And he ended up getting an assist, which was his first NHL point on the Tarasenko goal. That was also assisted by Jonathan Berggren. And I thought those 3, honestly, Carlo, I'm just going to say this right now because Tarasenko was on the first line playing with Larkin and Raymond. But what do you think of Tarasenko, Berggren, and a Kasper line? I actually kind of like that idea.
Dude, I've been saying this for a week. I want Tarasenko. I would love to have Tarasenko on the third line if it's Kasper centering him and Berggren on the opposite side. Yeah. I got so much heat for that in the group chat. I don't know why. I don't know why. But as soon as they're on the ice, they score. Now, were they on the ice as a unit? No, there was obviously a line change that happened, but I still think that line would be really, really fun to watch. And I think it would complement Berggren and Kasper very well to have a simple player like Tarasenko on that left wing. But I noticed today, I haven't seen any lines come out yet. So I really don't know what that's going to look like because there hasn't really been any line rush practice notes that I've seen. But I hope we do see that. I don't know if it's going to be for a whole game whether it's going to be for a period, couple of shifts, doesn't matter. I want to see that line get a look, man, because I really think all three of those players, I think, can complement each other quite well. And I think it slots the team better. And that's something that Newsy talked about post-game, was having Kasper in the lineup allows him to slot the lineup way, way better. And I fully agree with that.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I thought Marco Kasper looked really great out there. I thought that was probably one of the better games from Jonathan Berggren as well. I think he's looked pretty much almost invisible, and I know that he's been pushed down to the fourth line, but being pushed up to the third line, we should see a little bit more opportunity for him, and he should be able to showcase that to us. We'll kind of talk about that down the line as well, more into our main topic, but I thought Andrew Kopp had a really great game, Carlo. He had 2 goals. I mean, granted, one was an empty netter and one was kind of luck, I guess. Yeah. I mean, I think he was just kind of in the right spot at the right time, but honestly, I thought he looked really good. I thought he looked really great on his skates, and I thought his stick handles were there. He made a move on someone. I can't remember when exactly at what point in time during the game it was, but I thought that was probably one of his better games I've seen him wearing the Red Wings uniform.
I agree. I think he did have a good game. He did look good out there. He looked like he was in control, and he had that dominant edge. I fully agree with you. You know who else I think had a very good game? Joe Veleno had a phenomenal game against the Preds. He was skating. He was Stevie Weeks that game. Just flying around, buzzing around, finishing his checks. Great along the boards. I thought Joe Veleno had a phenomenal game. I would like to, and I know we've said this before. I think I just got a flashback to last season. I want to see Veleno do that again, because it's very few and far between, I feel, with Joey V having a really good game and then kind of just falls off. I'd like to see that continue, and I think it can continue. And maybe it's because Kasper's there and it's just slotting a lineup better. And you know what I mean? Maybe that's the de facto efforts of what's happening with Kasper being there. Who knows? But yeah, I hope we can continue to see that, because it was nice to see Joey V have a good game along with Copper.
It's just so funny that you brought that up, because that will be something that we do kind of go into in our main topics. You actually didn't get to see any of the stuff that I put in there, which actually makes it more exciting for me. I like actually surprising you guys. I'm someone who likes to surprise people. I don't like them knowing what's going to happen.
He's a really good gift giver.
Makes it more authentic, you know, and you could see their reactions.
Yeah, that's true.
Right
okay, I won't look. I was just going to fire it up.
Other than that, in this game, I thought the Red Wings top power play looked dominant, and I think they look dominant night in and night out, but they're just not shooting enough, Carlo. But in this instance, we saw Alex DeBrincat shooting basically low, and then was able to collect his rebound and then pass it off to Larkin, who was able to bury it away, in a good setup there by Patrick Kane too. So I thought that was a great goal. There was one point in time where I was like, Roman Josi is still such a lethal, dangerous defenseman in the NHL, because at one point he was on the PK, started driving down the line. I think it was on the left side, got to the top of the face-off circle and just ripped one. And it hit the post. It was basically going top side, right? And I was like, holy hell, there's a reason why this guy won a Norris trophy at one point in time, right?
Runner-up last year, I think, to Quinn Hughes.
Last year was Quinn Hughes. Yeah, he's usually one in the top 3 or top 5.
Roman Josi is phenomenal. And a quick little carve-in for fantasy hockey. He is by far the best defenseman. Yes, I will say it, over Cale Makar for fantasy hockey. Roman Josi is the real deal when it comes to fantasy hockey. So just going to place that in there, but we will talk about fantasy hockey waiver wire pickups at the end of the episode. So stick around. Stick around.
I do fully actually agree with Carlo on that statement, though, that I probably would take Josi over someone like Cale Makar and Quinn Hughes because of the other points and everything, but minus the fact that they have not won a game yet this season. And Detroit is 2 of those reasons why. So if you like the plus minus, maybe not so much, but but for hits and everything else, I 100% agree with you, Carlo. I think that he's a great asset to your fantasy lineup. And then Edmondson gets his first goal this season on an empty netter flying saucer move. I thought that was pretty cool. He basically did it from end zone to end zone, so that was pretty sweet to see. But overall in this game, Carlo, I thought that this was actually a really exciting game. I had to actually go back and rewatch it because I didn't get to fully see it the first time when it aired on Saturday. And the boys were feisty, and they had to be because Nashville was just as feisty back too. You got to see Forsberg and Seider almost go at it again like they did last season. I thought that was awesome. And then Ben Sherratt got into it with Smith too, dropping his gloves after pushing Seider into Alex Lyon. Overall, Alex Lyon, he dominated this game. I 100% purely solely agree at the fact that Alex Lyon is the one who saved the Detroit Red Wings winning this game. To me personally, that's what I think, but I do like the collective whole of the boys doing this as a team, right? They put in the goals, they put in the work, much like Alex Lyon did. So overall, I thought it was a great one, but it was a very chippy game. Would you agree?
Yeah, it was definitely a chippy game, and I think that's what should have been expected, just because, like you laid out, like Nashville's looking for their first win. Detroit's looking for a bounce back after 2 brutal games against the Rangers. Obviously, Detroit came out with a level matched intensity to what they thought Nashville was going to have, and they came out on top. So, I mean, credit to them. They definitely looked like a better 5-man unit, shift over shift, than they did against the Rangers. If anything, I think the Rangers probably taught the Red Wings a lesson for 2 games on how to be a 5-man unit. But they really came out and played well against Nashville. And I will mention it was their least amount of giveaways against Nashville and their most amount of takeaways against Nashville. So some of those underlying numbers, I think, obviously sometimes they get a little too looked at, a little too combed through. But when you look at the last 3 games and you do look at those numbers, I mean, sometimes it's like, oh, that's interesting. You know what I mean? Like, I wonder if that played a role. And I think it did, because it just shows that they were playing like a 5-man unit. And those numbers kind of equal up to getting you to that conclusion. So, but yeah, definitely a chippy game, Zach. Glad they came out on top. Definitely a win that they needed. And if I can just shout out Simon Edmonton's goal. I know it was an empty netter, but it was so fluid. Like the way he just corralled that puck, turned around and shot it. The fact that it was a flying saucer and it just went square into the net. It was awesome. It was awesome.
Would love to see more of those. I want to see Alex Lyon get a goalie goal too. I think that would be
pretty cool. Awesome. There was
one that happened this week.
Yeah, Gustafson, I believe, in Minnesota.
Yep.
Yeah.
So that was pretty cool. Don't get to see those very often. Someone posted on Twitter, kind of side bit too. Someone posted a video of all the goalie goals that have happened in the league. And some of them I was actually very disappointed in, because I was like, look, goalie didn't do anything. He just kind of made the save, and the other team just muffed it up and put the puck in their own net. I was like, hey, it counts for something, I guess, So he's technically the last one to touch it. So it is what it is. But Carlo, I'll just do around the league news first, actually, because this is very short. But Bally Sports is now FanDuel Sports Network. I hate it, honestly. Personally, to me, it was very strange, because when I got home, I had to re-download or update Bally Sports because of the stupid name change. Is it really going to affect anything or anyone? No, I don't really think so. But I do know that people are kind of upset at the fact that sports gambling is now just thrown down your throats, but they won't allow players to partake in it. And if you do, then you get suspended, all this nonsense. So big deal, not a big deal.
Bally was a gambling company. I don't know if you knew that. I'm just finding that out ever since this merger not merger, but this, I don't know if it's an acquisition or a naming rights change, whatever it is.
Buying the naming. Yeah.
But Bally was the same thing as FanDuel. FanDuel's just way more in your face, I believe, because of the NFL. They're just constantly feeding that down. I don't know. I mean, I feel like we just got comfortable with Bally Sports Detroit. All I hope is that FanDuel Sports Network keeps the same backing tracks, those rock and roll riffs during like weird broadcasts or whatever. I just hope they keep those. I digress as per usual. But anyways, impartial. I don't care. As long as Ken and Mick are still there, Trev is still there. And you know what? Maybe FanDuel will give Keats a little more airtime to get out those long-winded, little segues like me.
Maybe they'll do him a personal favor. Who knows? But jumping into Red Wings news, not too much around the league news, but Red Wings news. For those of you that don't know this, so we'll say it, Husso was sent down to GRG. He did play the next day, I believe it was, or maybe the same night that he was sent down. He gets a shutout in his first game. So congratulations to him. That's awesome. We obviously want him to do well. But do we expect him to get called back up anytime soon? Me? No, Carlo. I really don't. I don't see why unless there's an injury. I just don't see it happening. So stick him with GR as long as you possibly can. Just split time with Kosa.
Yeah, I don't know how long it's going to take for things to happen for him to come back. Credit to Hockeytown West podcast. They did some really good post-game interviews, and Husso was one of their interviews. And I'll be honest with you, man, I felt for Husso a lot. Like, I know he got a shutout. I know he played, but you could just tell, like, he wants more than that. Like, you can just see it. So I really, really felt for him. So, I mean, hopefully something gets figured out for him to play in the NHL again, potentially play with the Detroit Red Wings again. But we need points. We need to win. And right now we are at our best, and our team is really good when they're playing in front of Alex Lyon. So it is what it is.
We'll go in depth about that further along, too. Dmitry Buchelnikov, Booch Bombs on a Detroit Red Wings plus America interview by Olisa Yusova, titled Dmitry Buchelnikov. Yeah, basically just saying, I do what I love. I want to smile and bring positivity, but who wouldn't want to play in the NHL? So if you ever had doubts of Buchelnikov ever coming to North America, this should probably ease you a little bit. I never really had any doubts, but he's having a fantastic year, and I'm going to go in depth about that in the main topics too, Carlo. But yeah, I mean, for those of you who do not know, Dmitry Buchelnikov plays over in the KHL. He's actually having a very, very fantastic year. So hopefully after this season, I know he still might be tied up for one more year in the KHL, but I do expect him in North America at some point in his career. So whether if it's in the near future or maybe a little bit down the line, but we still got him at least in our playbook, it seems like. General manager Steve Yzerman played 1,514 games as a player and another 1,000 as a general manager. And the Detroit Red Wings claimed a victory Saturday in Yzerman's milestone contest as a general manager.
Nice.
Carlo, this is kind of huge to me personally. I mean, probably not too many people can say I got to play over 1,500 career NHL games, and then I got the GM over 1,000 with the Tampa Bay Lightning and the Detroit Red Wings. So I don't know if you want to touch on this a little bit, but congrats to him. That's pretty cool.
Not surprising, man. Not surprising. I think there's easily another 500 games where he's going to probably match, if not surpass, that 15-14 mark as a player. It's the name, man. It carries a lot of horsepower. It carries a lot of brand power. He truly is one of the great ones of this league. And it doesn't surprise me at all. He is a staple. He is a cornerstone. He is the man when it comes to, especially, I mean, obviously Detroit hockey, but I think when you think of the word hockey in general, he is one of those names that definitely pop into your mind, as well as the other, 4 to 5 big time names when it comes to the word hockey. So credit to him though, and congrats on the win. Congrats on the milestone. Hopefully there's another 1,000. We would love that. You know what I mean? But no, that's awesome. That's a really good stat.
Yeah, that was sick. So another news, Axel Sandin Palika and Noah Dower Nilsson are on the roster for Sweden's U20 team at the Five Nation tournament, which is November 4th to the 10th. No surprise MBN isn't on here.
Me too, to be honest with you.
Not upset about it, though. We still get 2 Detroit Red Wings prospects on that team, so that'll be fun to see. I might actually take the time to watch those, honestly. So November 4th to the 10th, there are capabilities to watch that. Feel free to shoot us a DM if you're interested to learn how. So, all right, Carlo, let's go ahead and jump into the main topics, and we're going to discuss where do the Red Wings stand in their 5 games versus everybody. So Red Wings versus everybody, meaning the National Hockey League. No surprise, you guys probably already know this. The Red Wings are 2-3 in their last 5 games, both wins against the Nashville Predators. Carlo, I hope you're ready for this. And I'm just going to go down the list. So after that, you can kind of pick apart what I say, right? So this is where the Red Wings rank amongst the NHL. Granted, it is only 5 games in for the Red Wings. Some teams have played 8. or less.
Sure.
You know, the New Jersey Devils is one of the teams that have actually played the most. But with that being said, the Red Wings are 22nd in power play percentage at 15.8%. They're 30th in PK percentage at 62.5%. And all this data, mind you, sorry, I just want to say this was all collected yesterday. There was, I believe, one game that played yesterday. So
Leafs
some
Tampa
might have changed, but not too much. 30th PK percentage. That's pretty bad. 25th in points scored amongst all your players on your team is 37. Now, the top two teams is New Jersey at 70 in 8 games, and Winnipeg at 67 in. Oh, that's wrong. It says 3 games, but I think that's supposed to be 7. So I have that wrong. My apologies. But
Winnipeg's unreal. Like everyone's producing on that team. It's unreal.
Yeah, they're playing lights out right now. The Red Wings are 27th in shots on net, 141. New Jersey has 99 more shots than we do. We're also 24th in penalty ice minutes. Real quick, what do you think about those stats within the first 5 games of this NHL season for the Detroit Red Wings?
Nothing surprises me except for power play being 22nd. I honestly thought they were going to be around the 27, 28 mark out of the entire league. PK doesn't surprise me. They're terrible. Very, very bad. This does not surprise me. And, I look at these numbers, Zach, and the thing that just keeps popping into my mind is we have $86,000 in cap space. That's it. A team with $86,000 in cap space should not have numbers like this. I'll leave it at that.
I do agree with you. Yeah, it's I'm not going to say that it's alarming that we don't have enough cap and that
it's 5 games in. It has nothing to do with. I know the cap's going to accrue and it's going to grow, but the fact that we entered this season and we had 86 grand in cap left, and after 5 games, these are the numbers and these are the stats. That's concerning. There's a lot of improvements that need to happen. Probably will happen, but not the start I was expecting, considering last season we had a 5-1 start, like I mentioned earlier. This is a terrible start.
I think you probably already know where I'm going to go out with this because I've been hypercritical of them. Is the assistant coaches. It continuously goes back to the special teams, right? I unfortunately don't have the 5-on-5 stats for them, but this is a joke. To me, I mean, 22nd in power play and then 30th in PK. Something's got to be done. I mean, you look at the team last year. I was hypercritical about them, and they were pretty much in the middle of the league for majority of their power play and PK stats and everything else, right? And so I look at this now, and granted, it is only 5 games into the season, but this is not okay.
No.
We kind of figured the Red Wings would be similar to where they were at last year. Maybe a little worse. This is down bad, Carlo, to me. And I think a lot of people feel the same way. And it goes back to the special team coaching. And I think it's a lot that has to do with the assistant coaches. I just think with it being the 3rd year and some of them their 4th year with the Detroit Red Wings, that not much really has improved to me personally. You look at some of the names you got. Alex DeBrincat, Dylan Larkin, Lucas Raymond, Patrick Kane, Vladimir Tarasenko.
What was that guy you said? Who's Patrick who?
Patrick Kane. I love him.
Kane's off to a slow start, but I think he's due. And I think that when he pops off, that's when our power play is really going to turn that corner and improve. That's kind of where I'm thinking things go. But, you talk about the assistant coaches. I'm going to go ahead and say it because I'm not afraid to say it, but I you got to throw in the head coach in there as well in that discussion. Yeah. Whatever they're doing, it needs to change. Whether that means how they're prepping the guys, whether that means they're changing a bit of a system on the power play. I'll be honest with you, it's the most predictable power play I've ever seen. It's always the flank going to it's the same play every single time. They're always trying to find the guy in the middle. And it's just like, okay, it's easy to defend this, especially when it's your only play.
I don't see the urgency with the ops like we did last season versus now. Like you said, it's very predictable. I think teams recognize that.
Yeah.
And I don't, and you brought up the scheme, like there's a scheme change here, and we heard it from both coaching and general manager front office that this team needs to be playing better defensively. Well, by doing that, it came at the sacrifice of their offense, and guess what? Their defense hasn't even improved. So it sucks. You lost in this situation. I mean, the stats show it, right? I mean, you're like, if that's the case, like, and just going into the power play, but yeah, it's very predictable. I mean, the shots, like I mentioned, you're 27th in shots. I don't know how many they've taken on the power play, but way too much passing. And if I were one of those coaches, I'd be, hey, especially on the PP1. Dylan Larkin. I think Alex DeBrincat's still on there. Patrick Kane, I think he's still on there. Moritz Seider or whoever else is quarterbacking that.
Gus was quarterbacking that last, which is I don't even know how they came to that conclusion, but
you got people. What I'm trying to get at is you have people here that can rip the puck and score. Why is no one shooting? I just don't understand why it is. And they're trying to get the open net pretty goal. And I think that's jarring to me that we don't have faith in our players to be able to just rip it
and score.
And score. And honestly, that's kind of, to me personally, I thought that's what we got Alex DeBrincat for. I thought maybe Patrick Kane could bring a little bit of that too, or maybe even Tarasenko or Lucas Raymond could find the way to do it. But
Tarasenko's been our best pure goal scorer so far.
Yeah.
He's just, the way he shoots the puck, I mean, it's nasty. Just complete rippers. And he's done it a couple times now. And they just a pure goal scorers type of goal. It's awesome.
I mean, I would like to see a little bit more of that. I think he's only got 2 goals for the season, I believe, and the Red Wings are still 22nd in the power play at 15.8%, like I said. So, like you said, he's doing very well, but could definitely be improved. I think actually the whole team needs improvement. Everyone needs to look within themselves and actually produce what they can out on the ice for this team. But I have some other things that I wanted to cover too, Carlo, is that just kind of talking about some of the players on this team. You got Dylan Larkin, Lucas Raymond, and Alex DeBrincat leading the team in points with 4 points. Going and talking about the goalies, it's pretty clear, Carlo. I mean, you already said it. Alex Lyon is the number 1 goaltender in the 3 games played. He's got a 2.06 goals against average, a .938 save percentage. I didn't think it was that good until I saw it yesterday. I was like, wow, okay. Yeah, Talbot, easy. 3 games played, 3.31 goals against average, a .907 save percentage. That's actually better than what I thought he was doing. And then Husso, 9.42 goals against and a .714 save percentage.
How the hell is he at a 9.42?
No idea, but he is. It's pretty crazy.
In only 1 game?
I guess so. Yep.
Did we get shelled? He didn't let 9 goals, did he? In one,
No, but that was the stat that they had on for him for elite prospects.
So. Dude, even if it's a 6, I mean, I'm sure that's right, but even if it was, it's still bad. Like, that's terrible. That's very bad.
Yeah, that's really bad. And this isn't a hate on Husso, but it's clear that it's Lyon and Talbot here. I think a lot of people knew and saw that this was coming. I know that a lot of fans were upset that Husso was sent down, or that there's a possibility that he could get claimed or traded. I don't think either of those two are possibilities. But yeah, it's Alex Lyon moving forward. And that was one thing that we mentioned about Alex Lyon, is that we don't want to have to ride on him too much like we did last season. But maybe I think there was a point that we were missing here, Carlo, is that much like we see someone like Lucas Raymond, Moritz Seider, whatever young player that you want to bring up, that they don't get worse the next year. Sometimes they stay about the same, but they typically improve. And we know that Alex Lyon isn't exactly the youngest player, but I think we did a disservice to him in not expecting him to put up better numbers and have an overall better game when he is on the ice. Is that something that we could see this season, where he is ready for that workload because he got it last season? Maybe he was expecting the same thing to happen going into this season throughout the offseason. Do you think that that was a case for Alex Lyon that, I have to work my tail off in the offseason because I'm expecting this to happen again? Do you think that's a possibility?
Totally, man. Because I mean, he'll probably tell you the same thing. That's how it's been for him his entire career. He's always been chasing the net. He's never been given anything, and he's just constantly. And credit to him for continuously grinding and working his butt off to get the chance and to get the call. You know what I mean? Huge credit to him. And now he's the guy. And, it kind of makes me nervous, dude, because if he keeps playing as well as he does, I think someone's going to call Steve Yzerman on this guy. And I think Steve Yzerman's going to pull the trigger. I think he's going to send him. And the team I'm thinking about is Colorado. They need a goalie bad. Like, they are not looking too good at all. And they definitely need a goaltender. Who they would trade away for this goaltender, I mean, I don't know. But, Lyon looks really appealing right now. I would love to keep him. I love Alex Lyon. I've been a huge Alex Lyon fan since he came in and started stealing the net. But yeah, man. I think for him, he worked his tail off again in the offseason. Nothing was a guarantee this season. We gave the starters net to a goalie who had a good preseason when our offense was useless in the preseason. Like, how can you, for me, it's like, how are you giving Husso the starters net based off of preseason games? And then you flip it over. It's like Dylan Larkin, Patrick Kane were completely useless in the preseason. So it's like, I just don't get how that's the measuring stick. It was very confusing, but anyways, what do you think?
I think that Alex Lyon is someone, I mean, kind of going, let's talk about the whole appeal thing to other general managers. Yeah, I think he is very enticing to other general managers. His cap hit is awesome. His age is awesome. His stats are awesome. But are we ready to make that sacrifice? Do you look at the other two goaltenders? Are we ready to commit to being a bottom 15 team in the league or 16
I hope
team?
not.
Right.
I'm not
because
there.
I believe that if you were to move on from Alex Lyon right now, that's where you're headed towards.
Yeah.
Personally,
I agree
to me,
100%.
unless for whatever reason, they wanted to bring up Kosa. Kosa's looked really good in GRG. Go ahead and check out Hockey Town West podcast if you haven't already. I'm sure they've talked about him and how he's looked pretty stellar so far, but maybe there is an opportunity to see Kosa sooner rather than later. I don't know, but obviously an injury would have to come or an Alex Lyon trade, but
yep. I got a lot of flack for bringing that up in the group chat too. Because I honestly, you literally stole my thought in what I was thinking the other day is if Kosa continues to play out of his mind and Detroit continues to struggle with goaltending, isn't that a prime case to potentially give him a buzz and be like, hey, Kos, I'm not saying go buy a house in Detroit, but you're coming up for a 5-game look or whatever. Like, I don't know. Like, I don't know, man. I think we see Kosa this year if the goaltending woes continue. And granted that Kosa continues to play out of his mind, why not?
it almost kind of reminds me of how Philadelphia had always been on goalie carousel. And then Carter Hart just showed up out of nowhere. He was like 20, 21 years old. It could be a situation with Kosa, right? You just never know.
Yeah.
But I agree with you that if it's a trade or an injury or something, and Kosa has an opportunity to showcase, we haven't seen him play in an NHL game. We've seen him play in preseason, but I think the timing has to be right. I obviously would prefer him to go up against a team that isn't top 15 or 16 in the league, right?
Sure.
Just let him get his feet a little wet, maybe go up against a winless San Jose Sharks, maybe even like Chicago Blackhawks. We've seen him stuff Connor Bedard a couple times in preseason. So I just want him to get familiar with the game. But if you wanted to throw him out to the pack of wolves, I think there's no better time to do that, right? I think you could do that at any point in time and let him know that, like, this is what you're going to get night in and night out, regardless if it's a good or bad team. And there are no bad teams in the NHL, because I do believe that the 32nd team in the NHL could destroy the number one team in the American Hockey League.
It's just the way it is, man. It's the way these teams are built now and the way they train and the tools they have to their disposal. But yeah, I'm with you.
Other than that, kind of going over some defenders. I mean, Simon Edvinsson, he's got 2 points this season and he's a +/-0. I know +- doesn't really mean too much, but it's still something to kind of talk about. And then you look at someone like Gustafsson with 2 points and his +- is -2 and has been scratched twice. He's doing worse than Simon Edvinsson. And the only reason why I picked on these two is because they're the 2 new additions to this Detroit Red Wings team. You moved on from Jake Wallman. That was pretty much on the defensive end, and Jeff Petrie injured, and Justin Hall comes up too, and he's looked pretty good lately too, honestly. So did this defense get better or worse from your viewpoint, Carlo, just in these first 5 games compared to last season? To me, no. I don't think so. But I think majority of fan base knew that already.
That they did get worse or that they didn't get worse?
That their defense did get worse.
Yeah, they did get worse. It's pretty obvious over the last 5 games, but I still think I feel like there's still an opportunity for the gaps to close there on that thought, because I feel like Edvinson's getting better every single game. Kind of like what we saw from him at the end of last season. He was getting better with every single minute that he got on the ice. I feel like that's continuing very well right now this season. So I think there's an opportunity where the defense gets better and improves over the year because Simon Edvinsson continues to take those steps forward. I think if we continue to see Edvinsson and Seider as our top pairing, just like we talked about slotting people well on the forward group with Marco Kasper, I think with Edvinsson being on that top line with Seider, that's going to allow us to slot the defenders well too. And then you're going to start to see the improvements start to kick in. So, saying that out loud, maybe I was silly to think we would have a very good start this season. Maybe this is what it was supposed to look like the entire time. But by the time we're 20 games in, what do we look like then? Are we a well-oiled machine that's slotted well, that has a Kasper in the lineup permanently, that has Edvinsson on the top line permanently, which allows the slottings on the forward group and the defensive group to be really balanced out? And then by game 20, we're firing on all cylinders and looking really good. That's very, very possible. Can't rule that out. Just takes time to get there, right?
No, it 100% does. I mean, looking back even to last year, we had a very rough, I believe it was November. We had a hot October. Like you said, we come out guns blazing. It was like 5-1, right? The Detroit Red Wings, you looked at Dylan Larkin and Alex DeBrincat. They were the hottest duo in the league at the start last year. And now we're in the stinker, right? So completely different. It's amazing the contrast difference here, right, versus this year and last year. But yeah, anything is possible. All it takes is for maybe just one guy to get hot. Maybe that's Alex DeBrincat. Maybe that's Lucas Raymond, who doesn't have a goal yet technically this season, which is a little surprising to me. He's got 4 assists, but that's not a problem to me. Maybe some people thought that he was gonna start putting up 30+ goals consistently. Could he still do that? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But I think at the end of the day in his career, he just might be someone who racks up the assists and gets 25+ goals every season. So
I think Raymond looked very good over the course of this start. I think he's looked really good. I think it's going to come. And once it does, I think it's going to come in bunches.
He's getting hit a lot. I'm noticing that in these first 5 games, teams are definitely taking the hits on him. It happened to him early in that Nashville Predators game.
Yeah, he's throwing them back though, man. He's laying out some pretty big hits too himself. Got to give credit there because he's not the biggest dude.
Yeah. And then last but not least, I kind of wanted to talk on some of the younger guys, not all of them. And I'm kind of nitpicking here, and it's kind of talking about, you brought this up earlier, Carlo, and I mentioned how it would tie into this, but I'm picking on these 3 players, Veleno, Berge, and Rask. I think they all need to take a bigger step. To be honest, these are guys who have been in this team, in this lineup for quite some time. Obviously, Berge didn't get that much last season, but the year prior, he's been in the NHL. He knows what to expect, right?
Mm-hmm.
What's to be expected of him. And it's so funny that you mentioned that Veleno, you thought that he had a really good game. He better have had a good game because Marco Kasper just overstepped them and took
Oh,
over
yeah.
that
Oh,
third
yeah.
seed, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so Joe Veleno's like, this kid coming in, right? And I'm still down here on the fourth line. Like, what the hell's going on here? So I'm going to do everything I can to push myself up, as he should.
Yep.
Steve Yzerman thinks highly of Joe Veleno. Drove him to frickin' Toronto in his own car, you know? And then gave him that pretty good contract. Looking at Berggren, we kind of touched on him. Yeah, I just think he needs to take more advantage of his opportunity. Granted, like I said, he's been on the fourth line, but he got pushed up to the third line because of Christian Fischer. So he needs to take advantage of that. And Raz, it's so weird because I love him. I love what he brings, but I just know deep down there is so much more in him. There was an opportunity for him to snipe a goal.
I was just going to bring that up.
And he just shot it right into the belly of Saros. I was like, dude, what are you doing?
Yeah, you're right. You're damn right.
You know, I just want to see all three of these players taking a bigger step, because before they know it, they're going to be replaced by Marco Kasper, Carter Mazer, and MBN. More than likely, those three, just to pick off three players, right? I can 100% see that. You can even throw in Soderblom. Soderblom could easily, maybe not easily, replace someone like Rasmussen, right? They're both big. They both got long reaches. I believe Soderblom could probably play PK, maybe just because of his reach. I don't know, but I think these guys got to be playing with a little more chip on their shoulders and contribute a little bit more. Not saying that they aren't, but they got to take that big next step if they want to continue being on this team. And we have seen this with Steve Yzerman. Just because you got that contract does not mean that you're going to be sticking around here. Anthony Mantha, Jake Wallman, just to name off a few. So thoughts on that, Carlo, about Veleno, Bergie, and Rass?
I think you nailed it. I really do. There's not much more to add there. You know, one thing I think about with Rass, though, is just the role he's being asked to play. Cool. I love that he's down to do that, and he does do that. Are his line mates the right ones to support him in executing on what he's being asked to do? I feel like there's a lot of mumble jumble right now with the lineup, especially within that third line. I feel like it's just very up in the air. Rass is a constant. He's not going anywhere, but everybody else on that third line is jumping around. So I feel like he just giving him a little bit of, I don't know, slack, I guess, is what I'm leaning towards here, because he doesn't have true line mates. They're all being jumped around. You know, personally, like, I'm looking at the lineup right now, and I wouldn't mind a look of Marco Kasper if they're like dead set on keeping Tarasenko on the second line, which it really seems like they are. Why don't you put Kasper up on the second line to center Tarasenko and Patrick Kane? Just not a whole game, just a look, and put JT Compher down with Rasmussen and Berggren, just to see what that looks like.
I mean, if they're already doing the jumbling that they're doing, yeah, you might as well take the chance.
Yeah, that's my point.
Because what's the worst case? You do it for like 5 shifts and then you change it back to normal. However you want to do it, Coach Lalone. But yeah, there's definitely some opportunity here, and you might as well do it early in the season before it gets too late, right? And obviously injuries happening, or more of the flu keeps on going around. But who knows? The Red Wings, I mean, just looking back at everything, you know, where do the Red Wings stand in their first 5 games? And not only the stats, but based on these players, I think we have some clear indicators. I think Alex Lyon definitely is the 1A. Talbot is the 1B. But I think you would probably go 2, then 1. Like Alex Lyon, 2. Talbot, 1. Lyon, 2. You go that route, right? I don't want to see Alex Lyon playing 4, 5 games in a row, right? I don't want that happening again. I think we're going to end up turning on Alex Lyon like some people did last season.
Yeah, no, you're right. And I think if we can get that, think about the contrast between right now, like what the system right now versus last year. Like, you had Alex Lyon playing 2-3 games. James Reimer was coming in on that 4th game. Now we have Cam Talbot coming in on that 3rd or 4th game. That's huge. That's a big difference.
Yeah.
And it gives Alex Lyon an opportunity to maybe play a little bit less games so he can take us down a little bit further down the stretch and get us those big wins. So I honestly, I'm not although the goaltending has been rough to watch right now, as we sit today, before we head into the Islanders game, I'm okay with having Lyon as our starter and Talbot as our reliever for a game or two. Like I feel I feel really good about that. Best I've felt with their goaltending situation in quite some time.
And that very may well could change after tonight's game against the New York Islanders. Who knows, Carlo? But like we mentioned, it does sound like Alex Lyon's presumably the starter for tonight, assuming it's against Elias broken.
Yeah.
So Marco Kasper, assuming he's still on that third line, I don't think you try to fix something that's not broken. So with that win against the Preds, you just continue along with what you had. Maybe you can insert Albert Johansson in there somewhere. That would be pretty cool to see. But yeah, I would say go ahead and work on what you got. I do have a prospect corner that I actually want to touch on, just kind of naming off some of the prospects that you guys might not be keeping up with. But Dmitry Buchelnikov, we touched on him earlier. Booch bombs in 16 games played in the KHL. He's actually got 4 goals, 10 assists. So for 14 points, and these were all collected yesterday, so they could have changed by now today if some of these players play today. Kiskinen, I know actually he got a goal today, so it should be 6 goals instead of 5 with 8 assists in 15 games played in the Liga. And I don't remember if I actually called this out, Carlo, but it's very foggy in my head, and I want to say that I did say this, but I think that it was actually, I know that I said this. I didn't like the Andrew Gibson trade, right, to get that second round pick that ultimately traded away Jake Wallman. But I love Kiskinen. Honestly, I think that was a great move by Steve Yzerman to, I mean, look, you have Sider, ASP, Andrew Gibson. Where was Andrew Gibson going to go? Eventually, he was never going to make this team because to me, I thought he was going to be a top 4D in the league, which he still can be. You look at someone like Kiskinen, I think that someone that could be a top 9 forward in the NHL someday. To me personally, I think he's got a wicked shot. He's killing it over in Ligas, so fans should be looking out for him. I think he makes North America next year. I think we see him very soon, sooner than later, for sure, which is awesome. Liam Dower-Nielsen also has 5 goals, 7 assists, and 10 games played with the Allsvenskan in Sweden. ASP has 4 goals, 6 assists, and 11 games played in the SHL over in Sweden. Emmett Finney, 4 goals, 5 assists, and 8 games played in the WHL. He's the captain over there, so glad to see that he's lighting it up and being the leader that they need over there for such a young team. Trey Augustine playing for MSU. He's got 2.0 goals against average, a .931 save percentage, and started out with a 3-1.
Trey's sick. All these prospects are off to a really, really great start, though, which is awesome. So great call outs there, Zach, because these are really good numbers for these kids, and it's good to see them starting off with a bang like that. That's awesome.
Yeah, and I got a little one that maybe not a lot of people are too familiar with, but Kyler Gylander, he made his pro debut with the Toledo Walleye and made 38 saves. Toledo won 4-2, had 2 goals against. So congratulations to him on his pro debut. I think that's awesome, and never a bad thing to have one too many good goaltenders, Carlos. So this is a good problem to have in the upcoming future with some of the goaltending prospects that we actually have. So Kosa, Trey Augustine, Carter Gylander, someone who kind of took a little bit longer, but that's okay. Honestly, goalies are voodoo. So but yeah, no, that was pretty fun. I think that's something that we might do once a month. And it's kind of a little prospect corner and keep up with the prospects in the NHL. And Carlo, before we hop into that's it, actually. So before we hop into last minute thoughts, why don't you go ahead and do your little fantasy hockey segment that you got over there, Bucko?
Fantasy hockey pickup of the week, none other than Kevin Lankinen, goaltender over in Vancouver, playing out of his mind. He has 2 wins, 1 loss, but in that loss, he still picked up 20 points. In his 2 wins, he picked up 22 points and then 37 points with a shutout against the Philadelphia Flyers. He has been my go-to this week. He has been my pickup of the week, and I think he might be my guy. However, I did go into this season thinking I'm going to be streaming goaltenders all year, something I'm going to be doing for the first time. But the reason being is I really don't have any droppable players when it comes to forwards, defensemen.
Mm-hmm.
Like my team I mean, humble brag. How you doing? My team is just stacked, so I really don't want to drop anybody. So I figured, okay, let's stream goalies. But I think I might have found a keeper here, folks. Kevin Lankinen, check him out. Look at his numbers. Look at his stats. If you haven't picked him up, go get him if he's still on the wire. And that is the Fantasy Waiver Wire Player of the Week here at Hockeytown Rundown. Back over to you, Zach.
And as soon as we get off, I'm going to go see if he's available in my league because I lost week 1. My team is pretty bad. I'm not going to lie. I definitely goofed up and I picked up, I selected Thatcher Demko. Who knows when he's coming back?
Yeah, good to stash him.
Yeah, I got him stashed on the IR. I also got Luke Hughes stashed on the IR. I think I have my other goalie too, who's also on, Joseph Wall. He's also on IR. It's a 14-man league, so it was pretty stretched thin on. I picked up Ross Colton today, who's on the Avs because he's playing top line with McKinnon and all those guys.
That's another really good. That was going to be my second name to talk about, but Colton's been playing lights out, man.
Yeah, let's see. Hopefully, it doesn't crap the bed like he did last season because I'm pretty sure they had him doing the same thing last year. But we'll wait and see. Who knows? But yeah, I think that's it, and we can go into our final thoughts. Carlo, over to you once again.
Final thoughts. Well, we're playing the New York Islanders tonight at 7:45, which is a quite random time, but probably the case because of the Frozen Frenzy that's happening. So we're playing the Islanders. Typically they're a very boring team to play against in the way they play. Just the way they play that game. It's tiresome, but I think Detroit's going to come out pretty solid tonight. They had quite a few days off to rest, get that flu out of their systems. I would like to see them come out with some bite tonight. And I'm hoping for a Patty Kane eruption with 2 goals, hoping for a Red Wings win. Let's go with a 4-0 win. I think Lion deserves that shutout. Patty Kane for 2. Let's go Red Wings. Those are my thoughts.
I like that, Carlo. I like that. Yeah, I will agree with you. I think Alex Lang is going to try and channel the same energy as Ilya Sorokin. I actually think that this might be a low-scoring game. I could definitely see it being like a 2-0 game, Red Wings, or even the other way around, but I think it's going to come down to the goaltending in this game. Yeah. I don't believe it's actually going to be high-scoring, but for your bet purposes, I'm going to go with you and say Patrick Kane gets a goal. Let's say
I need 2. I need Patty Kane to score 2, even if it's 2-0. Even if it's 2-0, Patty Kane gets both. I'm all in.
5-on-5 and then an empty netter.
Sure.
I'll take it. Way. So Wings 2-0 on my end, but my final thoughts are obviously let's go Red Wings, let's go Grand Rapids Griffins, let's go Detroit Lions, and let's continue putting up the wins, boys. That's all we ask for. Just don't end up becoming the Nashville Predators once we head into the month of November, or even for the rest of October. Please just continue winning. There are no sales tax on Detroit Red Wings tickets currently. I believe today is maybe the last day to do that. Might be actually over. So take advantage of that as you can. And yeah, those are my final thoughts. And we'll see y'all on the next one. Till next time, see ya.